Hey everybody, it's Micah with Membarium, and today we get the pleasure of talking with Troy Dean, and he runs a couple companies, but WP Elevation is one of them, and he's agreed to give us a sneak peek behind the scenes of his membership site and also share some insights about what he's learned along the way of building it. So Troy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Micah. It's a pleasure to be sharing these insights.
Well, cool, man. And again, we do appreciate it. So can you tell me just a little bit about your business, kind of how you got started and where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I started out as a WordPress developer back in about 2007. Usual kind of story, like, learning to use WordPress to build websites for my own projects. I was a musician and a voiceover artist. And then people around me started asking me to build websites for them. And then people offered to pay me to build websites for them. So I thought I'd better get my act together and learn how to do it properly. And then I realized very quickly that WordPress has a bit of a steep learning curve if you've never used it before. And this is like back at, WordPress 2.2. So it was a completely different interface back then. So I thought, well, I don't want to be in the business of training people how to use WordPress. That's going to get pretty boring pretty quickly because you're essentially running the same script over and over again to teach them how to use the interface. So I built this training manual to teach people. It was just a PDF to teach people how to use WordPress to manage their content. And then a buddy of mine had an idea to turn it into a plugin with videos. So we did that. We launched it in 2008. It's called Video User Manuals. And that was going pretty well for a while, just like a little side business. We had about 1,000 paying users. We were selling it for about $24 a month. And I also had a consulting business, building websites for clients. And eventually I kind of realized that the product business is where I wanted to be. So I doubled down and focused, turned my attention full time to the product business and realized I had this audience. We had an email list of about 9,000 at that point, most of which hadn't bought our plugin. So I just reached out to them, did some basic kind of inbox market research and said, hey, what do you guys want? You've opted in for our ebooks at some point, but you haven't bought our product, and that's cool. I'm not going to throw a tantrum or anything, but I'm just curious, like, what's going on for you guys? And they all came back. I remember clearly 451 responses in my inbox, and they were all saying, man, we need more clients. Can you help us get more clients? Because if you help us get more clients, then we can pay for all this cool stuff we want to use. And I'm like, yeah, I think I can help you get clients. So I started, putting together some ideas and basically started documenting my processes. At that stage, I'd left my agency and I was back out as a freelancer. And eventually we launched WP Elevation, which is a business coaching program for WordPress freelancers. We launched that in the middle of 2013. And now here we are 3 years later, going very strong. It's changed, it's evolved. And we have over 500 members in our program as we speak. And we're about to roll out another launch of the course in a few weeks. So that's kind of the backstory there.
Nice. So you're like the OG on the WordPress side.
Yeah.
How long have you used Infusionsoft?
What year is it now? 2016, so 2015. So 2014, I think we pulled the trigger on Infusionsoft. It's something that, frankly, I'd been wanting to use for a long time. And I mean, let's call a spade a spade. If you haven't used Infusionsoft, but you've seen screenshots or video casts of the campaign builder, it's like, that's what everyone goes gaga for. But when so we eventually, what happened is I went to San Diego and I enrolled in a course. I enrolled in one of Frank Kern's courses called Mass Conversion. And then I went to San Diego and I met Frank and Ryan Dice. And I came back and I said, right, that's it. We're doing it. We're pulling the trigger on Infusionsoft. And we got into Infusionsoft, and then all of a sudden you realize this thing is really powerful. It's a massive learning curve. I'm not going to lie about that. Like, my advice to anyone with Infusionsoft is do not do it unless you have time to learn it or you have the resources to pay a consultant to run it for you, because it's a huge learning curve. But man, it is so powerful. And so we pulled the trigger on it and then kind of did nothing with it for about 6 months. We kind of just got to know how to use it, and we sort of started gradually planning campaigns out one by one. And now, of course, it's a behemoth, and our Infusionsoft is a complete mess and full of tags and campaigns.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's only been a couple of years. It'll just get worse. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
So do you mind giving us, we're on the site now there, do you mind kind of giving us just a general overview of the site and maybe a walkthrough of some of the things?
Sure. So we, just a little bit of backstory. What happened is in June 2015, we had like 2 years worth of content in this website. We run webinars and coaching calls every month for our members, and we had this thing called the blueprint, which is essentially a series of processes and systems for running a WordPress consulting business. I mean, really, they apply to running any kind of creative freelance business. So if you're a copywriter, photographer, graphic designer, these processes are applicable, but we just happen to serve the WordPress freelance niche. So we had all this content, and I was looking for resources myself. I was looking for old coaching calls and webinars to reference, and I was logging into the members website, and I said to my business partner, this is a terrible experience. This is like a vending machine full of goodness. The problem is I don't know what I need right now, and I don't know how to find it. And there's no structure, and people were joining the program and they were like, whoa, where do I start? Like, I'm overwhelmed, and people just didn't take action because they were overwhelmed with too much information. So we shut it down. We shut the doors in July 2015, and we completely rebuilt the site from the ground up. And we now release our material and our training as a 6-week drip-fed course, a very structured course. It's kind of like if you enrolled in night school. You go along every week, you learn, you come home, you do your homework, you practice, you go back the next week, you learn new information. So it's a very structured 6-week drip-fed course. And one of the things that I knew from doing a lot of courses online, buying a lot of courses online, I mean, I've bought just about every course that there is online, especially in the online marketing space, is that you kind of still feel a bit isolated when you take a course online. And what we really wanted to do was we really wanted to ramp up the sense of community, because we knew that people who were really active in the forums stayed in the program. And if they stay in the program, they continue to get the benefits. So I said the number one priority for us really is to ramp up the sense of community. So we kind of started wireframing what we were going to rebuild. And about a month before we were due to launch, the guys over at Buddy Boss released this theme called Social Learner for LearnDash, which is what our new website is built on. So essentially what happens is this: you buy the course, you log in, and this is what you've got on your dashboard. You have the blueprint course on the left, and you have a blueprint accountability course on the right. And the accountability course is a bit of custom coding that we've done, which essentially is just a checklist, a series of tick boxes that encourage you to do your homework. And so what happens is when you join the program, we partner you up with an accountability partner, and then you jump online with your accountability partner once a week or however often you want, and you just make sure that you're both ticking off the accountability list. And so once that's complete, the idea is if you've completed the accountability course, then you've completed the actual blueprint course, and you've got this stuff all set up in your business. So what you're looking at right now is essentially what you see when you log in. This isn't the first page you see when you log in. I'll come back to that in a moment. But one of the things that we built in is as you complete modules in the course, so we've got 6 weeks, 6 modules, 1 module per week. As you complete modules, we unlock bonuses for you. So for example, if I'm logged in here as a test user, you can see that I'm up to 2 out of 8 steps completed. So if I come down to one of my modules here and say, hey, I've completed module 1, which is incoming. I think that's already marked as completed. If I go to my next lesson or my next module, which is called positioning. Now, I've actually completed all these lessons here, but I haven't marked it off as complete. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark this off as complete. I've got all my green ticks here. I'm going to mark this week's lesson off as complete. And when I do that, I'm going to be redirected to the next lesson, because this is actually available. In the real world, you'd have to wait. It would say, hey, this is going to be released in a few days, but because I'm testing this as a dummy user, it's just showing me the next lesson. If I go back to my dashboard now, a couple of things happen. I've unlocked a new badge, which is my positioning badge, which is the module that I've just marked off as complete. I've earned some more points here that help me on my leaderboard, which I'll show you a little bit later. And if I go to the courses page here now and do a refresh, you'll see that I've got a bunch of bonuses that have been unlocked, because the tag that has been applied to my record in Infusionsoft after completing that module has now given me access to these bonus courses. And the reason we do this is because we know from experience that when you roll out a 6-week drip-fed course, there are those people that just get in there and binge. And they go, right, I'm going to complete module 1 in 2.5 hours, because that's roughly how long it takes to watch each lesson and each series of lessons and complete the quizzes. And then they're sitting there for 5 days going, what do I do now? And they get distracted and they lose focus. So we just continually release bonus courses for them. And these courses really are past webinars that we've run that we've just cut up into miniature courses with quizzes. So they've got a whole bunch of content they can go on with. Hey, cool. I'm interested in podcasting. I'm going to watch a little podcasting course. It's an hour long. There are 8 lessons. And that's going to keep me satisfied until module 3 rolls out next Wednesday and I get my emails telling me that module 3 is live. So that kind of constant engagement and constant kind of carrot dangling is one of the things that we've built in to make sure that our students stay super, super engaged.
Wow, that is awesome. Do you email them saying like, hey, you got a bonus, or does it just appear here, or how does that work?
So usually what happens is they'll get an email and it will just automatically appear on their dashboard. In fact, what happens is they're so eager, they end up kind of emailing us or posting in our in the private Facebook group saying, hey, I just got a bunch of bonuses unlocked. The other thing we do is we use Intercom to, you can see down here, we use Intercom to pop messages up in Intercom here. And this one says, hi, James, I'm logged in as a dummy user called James Brown. Hi, James, congratulations on completing Module 2. We just unlocked some bonuses for you to keep you busy and entertained until we roll Module 3 out in a few days. Go elevate. That's our tagline. So we email, we use Intercom to put dynamic messaging in there, which I can show you in a moment. And we use the Facebook group to keep them engaged because, we know that some people don't read emails, some people don't use Facebook, some people don't log into the members' website and see the Intercom messages. We also use text messages to remind people about webinars and coaching calls. So we try and touch them at every possible touch point to keep them focused and keep them working their way through the course. And I don't know how deep you want to go on this, but there's a few other things we do in terms of micro rewards and macro rewards to keep them working through the 6-week course. And the test for us is, we know from anecdotally speaking to a lot of friends and colleagues that sell courses online, and also a lot of experience of buying and selling courses online, that most courses that you sell online will get around about a 10 to 15% completion rate. Now, Seth Godin recently said on the Tim Ferriss podcast that his courses that he sells on Udemy and Skillshare have an 80% drop-off rate. So he's only getting 20% of students to complete those courses on Udemy and Skillshare, which is just nuts because, Seth Godin's content is amazing. It's like the best of the best. So we're achieving about a 62 to 65% completion rate at the moment with our course. And that's because, I know that's because we've just worked extremely hard at making sure that we keep them engaged and nurtured throughout the entire 6 weeks. And they feel like they belong to a class, and they feel like, we have members saying, I feel like you're holding my hand like a tutor every step of the way, and I don't know how you do that online, but I just feel like I'm at school. And, it's a really amazing kind of sense of community and achievement.
Yeah, that is amazing. I like, using all the different mediums to reach them, because you're right, not everybody uses email or checks this or checks that. So tell me this, and we might get into even more of it, but you've got all these cool things going on. What was one of the most challenging parts of building the site?
So one of the most challenging parts of building this site, that's a really good question. I mean, I got to say, the Buddy Boss solution out of the box does some amazing stuff. But let me show you, we're really particular about keeping our members and our students focused on what they're doing when they're doing it, right? So let me just see if I can find, if I go back to my dashboard. I'm logged in as a dummy user, so this may not work. No, it's not. So because I'm logged in as a dummy user and I'm in the middle of a course, let me just okay, one of the things that we did is we have this events calendar, right? And at the moment, I'm not seeing any events because I'm not actually set up as a proper user. I do apologize about that. But one of the things we do is we roll out coaching calls and webinars for our members based on where they live. So we have 4 coaches around the world. We have 2 here in Australia, 1 in the US and 1 in the UK. And what we were finding is that our UK members were having to sit up till 11 o'clock or midnight to get on a coaching call. So we employed these 3 other coaches. We brought them on, who are actually 3 of our best students. We brought them on as part-time coaches. And so now what we do is we roll out a coaching call in the UK, 1 in the US, 1 in and 2 in Australia. And if you are in the US, when you log into your dashboard, you will see up here in the top right-hand corner, you'll see the next event coming up, and it will be the US-based coaching call, and it will tell you the date and the time of that call based on the US time zone. If you're an Australian, you won't see that call advertised here. You'll see the next Australian coaching call advertised. And that's because we don't want to confuse you. We want to talk to you because we know you're a human being and we know that you're an individual taking this course. You're not just a number. So we don't want to confuse you and expect you to get on a US-based coaching call if you live in Australia. And the other thing we do is if you're currently in the middle of the course, then you don't get invited to any of the coaching calls or the webinars that aren't related to the course. So during the 6-week course, we only invite you to the 6 coaching calls that are designed to help you get through the course. Once you've completed the course, then we invite you to our general webinars and coaching calls that we run each month because you've completed the course. But if you haven't completed the course, you just don't get invited to those calls because we don't want to distract you. And that's been, it's unfortunate that I can't show you, but this kind of banner that sits up here that advertises the next event, that's kind of a cool piece of custom querying that we did from Infusionsoft and WordPress to make sure that we only show that banner based on where you are in the world and where you are in the course, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, are you going off like their country field, or are you going off their IP address, or how are you determining?
We're going off their country field. We're going off their billing address country field. Now we have 2 exceptions. We have 2 members in Hawaii, right? And when we rolled this out, they were like, no, the US coaching call is like 4 a.m. for me. That's not good. So they emailed us and said, hey, can we be included in the Australian coaching calls? Because the Australian coaching calls for them are like, 4 p.m. in the afternoon or something. And we're like, sure. So we just tagged them with a specific tag. And then when we roll the campaign out in Infusionsoft, which I can show you, they get included. So we have this thing called the exception tag, and they get included in the Australian coaching calls, not the US coaching calls, because the US coaching calls are too early for them.
Gotcha. Nice. So, you mentioned one of the campaigns. Do you mind popping into some of the campaigns and kind of showing us how those interrelate with the site?
Sure. So here's a very basic coaching call. What happens is you'll get tagged as with a tag coaching call registration. Now we have a bunch of saved searches in Infusionsoft. So what we do in Infusionsoft is when you join the program, you are tagged with an intake number. So in September last year, you were tagged intake 1. February this year, you were tagged intake 2. And then when people join in June this year, they'll be tagged intake 3. And then based on your tag and whether or not you've completed the course, you'll be put into a saved search. So for example, this is a generic coaching call that we run once a month that I host, and it's for our members who have completed the course. So what happens is we run a search query that says, all right, if you're in the program and you have completed the Blueprint course, then we'll invite you to one of these calls. And what we do is we just tag that saved search, those people in that saved search in Infusionsoft. They get added to this coaching call registration and follow-up sequence. Now what happens here is, from our experience of running webinars and coaching calls, which we used to do way back when with GoToWebinar, and we switched last year to Zoom for a whole bunch of reasons. What we used to do is we used to really struggle to get people on coaching calls because literally putting a registration form in front of someone and getting them to put their name and their email address in to get on a coaching call kind of doesn't make sense, because I already know who you are. You're one of our students. Why do I need your name and email address to get on a call? That doesn't make sense. So Zoom has this cool thing called registrationless calls where you don't need people to register for the call. So what we do is we just start this campaign. We remove a tag, and the tag is WP Elevation coaching call complete. That's just in case that tag was left on the record by accident the last month. We make sure that tag is removed. We then send them a welcome email, and the welcome email just invites them to the call and gives them the link to Zoom. And so we have a whole bunch of merge fields here. This merge field is the title of the coaching call. Say, hey, Paul, I'd love you to join me on the coaching call next week. This is the title and this is the description. This is the date here, which is a merge field. This is a campaign link. We set up time and date zone conversions for them so they can just click on that link and they can see it whatever time zone they're in. You don't have to do anything. Just join us on this link because we've already registered you. This is a merge campaign link here, which is actually the login link for Zoom. And then we say, hey, we're going to conduct this live via Zoom. If it asks you for a meeting ID, here's the meeting ID. And again, this is a merge field here as well. So all that needs to happen for our VAs to run this campaign is they just go into the campaign and they add the information to the merge fields here, which you can see, date and time, the description, the title, and the Zoom ID there, and then they just add the merge links, the campaign links here, which is the time and date conversion and the actual Zoom link there. The reason we do that is because it's more efficient than opening up multiple emails to add that information. And also, let's be honest, the Infusionsoft email text editor is horrible. So it's really easy to make mistakes in there and get the formatting wrong. So we just get our VAs to drop the campaign links in the merge fields at campaign level. So we send them a welcome email, and then we have these timer delays set up to make sure they get an email the day before reminding them, and an email 30 minutes before reminding them to get on the call. And then what we do is we have this decision diamond here that asks, are they registered for SMS reminders? And if they have registered, if they've opted in for SMS reminders, you can see the tag. If they're not opted in, then we do nothing. If they are opted in, then what we do is we send them into this campaign here, and we integrate with Twilio, and that just pings Twilio to send them an SMS to remind them to get on the call about 30 minutes prior. And then we have this follow-up sequence, which basically just says, hey, a day later, we say, hey, we've uploaded the replay into the members website. Go check it out. And then we remove some tags. So we remove the SMS tag. We remove the registration tag, you can see there. And then what we do is apply the tag that says, hey, the coaching call is complete. And the only reason we apply that tag there is because that is the tag that becomes the campaign goal, which actually pulls them out of the campaign, and the cycle is complete.
Okay, cool. So for the new members, is that pretty basic? Like you're just generating a password and sending them access to the site, or what are you doing there?
Yeah, so for new members, we just, there's a script that we run that generates a username and a password, adds them to WordPress, and then there is a welcome email that they get with the login details, username and password. We also then have a follow-up email. In fact, I think it might even be in here, in the onboarding emails. No, it's not on the onboarding emails. There is another email that I send them personally with their login details, their username and password. So if they don't get the one that's sent out, well, they will, but if for some reason it's gone to spam, I send them another personal email saying, hey, I personally want to thank you for joining the program, and make sure you got your details, and just in case you didn't, here are your login details. What we're looking at here is actually the onboarding campaign that basically over a period of about 10 days explains who we are, introduces our community manager, Jin, explains the concept that we're going to be teaching in the course, shows them how to use the forums and the Facebook group, shows them how to use the members website, explains the leaderboard, explains webinars and coaching calls, and then gives them a welcome from one of our alumni members who's been with us for a while as well. So this is an onboarding sequence just to nurture them and really get them settled down into the course and make them feel like they're part of the community.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Anybody watching this, there's a lot of little things. Technically speaking, we haven't dove into anything that nerdy, but just some of the little things about the accountability and, the coaching calls during the course and the webinars after the course, and that I'm hoping that a lot of that's, hitting you properly, because these are really pretty important and interesting things. I'm even learning a couple little things and being reminded of a couple little things. Let me ask you, so what exactly is the offer? We're talking about webinars and coaching calls and stuff. Like, what are you offering alongside the courses? What does your offer look like?
That's a good question. So we offer the offer is a 6-week course called the WP Elevation Blueprint course, plus 12 months access to our community program. That's what people buy when they enroll in our course. The course is $997 US at the moment. It was $497 last September. It's now $997. It will eventually probably go to $1997 over the next 12 months as we improve things and as we onboard more people and get more feedback. So what they buy is the course, the 6-week course. They get a certificate at the end of the course, and they get a badge that they can put on their website, which I can show you in a moment. And then they get 12 months community access to the community program. And the community program consists of 2 webinars, 2 training webinars a month, 2 coaching calls a month. So we basically run an online event every week. We also give them what we call a bonus flight plan every month. And our flight plan is just a miniature course So, for example, we just did one recently on selling website maintenance plans, how to package up your website maintenance plans and sell them to clients. And that might be, typically speaking, might be 4 or 5 lessons and might take an hour to get through that course. So you can knock it off one afternoon or one evening. But it's a bonus bit of training based on what our members tell us they want. So there's stuff on lead capture, there's stuff on cash flow, managing money, hiring staff, setting up maintenance plans. We drop at least one of those every month as a bonus. And of course, access to the Facebook group and the forums. And the Facebook group is nuts. It is so active. In fact, and so then what happens is at the end of 12 months, you renew at $97 a month, and that's optional. And I can tell you that we have about a 50% churn. So once people are through the program, through the course, and they've had their membership for the 12 months, then about 50% will stay, and the other 50% will say, hey, this is not right for me right now. I'm going to bounce out. I've got my value. But what happens is when those people bounce out, they are in agony about losing the community in the Facebook group. We've had so many people say, can you please offer us a different priced membership where we just get access to the Facebook group and nothing else? And of course, for us, that doesn't make sense because all of the chatter in the Facebook group is about the new webinars and the new courses and the new flight plans that we're rolling out. So they would just be confused if we left them in the Facebook group. So we know that the relationships that they build up in the Facebook group are really important to them.
Gotcha. So if I understood that right, and people have a lot of questions about, ongoing fees or one-time fees or yearlies or whatever, you're essentially selling 1-year access for your $997. You don't quite position it that way, but it sounds like that's what you're selling. Do they still have any access to the site after a year?
Yeah. So what happens is if they don't renew, and you're exactly right, we'd done the numbers on our lifetime value, and we'd worked out that if we can get people to commit to a year up front, then that's more beneficial for them because they're going to get more value out of the program and they're going to be really embedded in the community. And it's better for us because it increases our lifetime value, which frankly allows us to hire more people and devote more resources to providing a better product. So at the end of the year, if they decide not to renew, what we do is we basically give them access to a subdomain where they get the course that they originally bought and any of the coaching calls that were released during their time in doing that course. And I think they even get, don't quote me on this, but I think they even get the webinars, the bonus webinars that were released while they were in the program. They just don't get access to any future webinars or coaching calls, and they don't get access to the forums or the Facebook group. So they get logins to a subdomain where they can still access the course that they originally bought.
Okay, so they get kind of their own personal archive based on when they joined of their coaching calls and webinars and the courses.
Yep, exactly. And they've got lifetime access to that.
Okay, awesome. What do you do for customer service? Is it all intercom?
No, for customer service, we have this help page here that we kind of customized. It's just a bunch of accordions, really. And it's kind of frequently asked questions about the courses, about the webinars, the coaching calls, some guidelines in the forum, some billing, membership details. We're just starting to build a perks section here. We're kind of this will eventually become its own page, but we're just starting to build a perks page here, some networking stuff. And then we have this support forum and a subject line. Now, this all goes into desk.com, which is a Salesforce product. We were we started using desk.com a long time ago and kind of got grandfathered in on some plan. So that's why we use that now. And depending on the subject line here, that gets routed to the right agent in desk based on what it is they are looking for. And then the process is that, if we get asked the same question 3 times, add it to one of these sections here because that will, reduce our overhead. The only reason, so we don't use intercom for engagement really. We just use intercom to ping messages into the members' website and remind our members about things that are going on. Sometimes, of course, I can reply here, but if I get rid of that, there's no help button. I can't click a help button here and ask a question via intercom.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's cool. Tell me, what is your best sales strategy for new members? So it kind of sounds like you're doing a launch model. Is that right? And if so, is it a traditional or what do you do?
Yeah, so we're doing, that was the other thing that we did last September is I'd been studying a lot with Jeff Walker, and I really wanted to do a product launch style, PLF style launch. I'd heard all these things about, I wanted to execute one because I've been studying them for over 2 years, and I'm like, I just want to get my hands dirty and just have a go at this and see, if we can pull it off. I've got to tell you, it's an enormous amount of fun making pre-launch videos, but it is an incredible amount of work. It's, I massively underestimated what's involved. And so what we do now is we have pre-launch videos. So we'll have 3 free training videos that are about 20 minutes each, and they're really good. They're like 3 of the quickest wins that we can give our students, like 3 of the lowest hanging pieces of fruit, if you like, that we can pick for them. We give them templates. We give them a proposal template. We give them a template for running a client meeting, and we give them the entire blueprint for running their business, and a whole bunch of free training videos around that. And then we open the program. We say, hey, you've probably got a bunch more questions about what if this, and what do I do here, and what's in those emails, and what does that template look like? And that's what you get when you join the course. So we have a 2-week warm-up period of those free training videos, and then we open the doors for 7 days. And then once those 7 days are up, we shut the doors, and then we are closed for 4 months because we have 3 intake periods a year. Now, in between those intake periods, we do a little bit of PPC advertising, predominantly on Facebook at this stage, and a little bit on Instagram, where we drive people to blog posts, and then we have people sign up for one of our checklists or one of our templates that are just lifted out of the course. So it's, it's good old freemium kind of, here's enough value for free so that when we open the doors, people are like, well, it must be super valuable behind the paywall because you guys give away so much free content throughout the year. And that we know that because when our students join, one of the first questions we ask them is, hey, what made you join in the end? And they all say, well, you've given us so much value over the last 12 months for free. I've kind of felt obliged to join the program because I've learned so much from you.
Nice. I gotcha. Yeah. And I mean, launches are, as soon as you said that you were going to do that, I was going to chime in and ask how much coffee you drink, but
a lot.
Yeah, launches are insane. I mean, you get in there and you set timelines for yourself, and somehow, some way you get behind, and pretty soon it's like, oh, I don't need to sleep for the next 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. Right on. I mean, look, I'm really fortunate. I don't have kids at the moment, not yet. We're in the planning stages there, and I've got a very, very supportive wife who is just, I'm like, hey, babe, we're going into a launch, and she's like, all right, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. So, I'm pretty lucky in that respect. We're just about to pull off 2 launches back to back. We're doing a launch for WP Elevation. We literally closed the doors on Wednesday night, and Friday morning we open the doors on a launch for a brand new product called Rockstar Empires. So yeah, it's nuts, but we're about to do 2 launches back to back.
Nice. So I could go on about that, but I'll try to stay focused. So you mentioned you're using the Buddy Boss social learner theme, right?
Yeah.
Tell me maybe then about what plugins you're using.
Sure. So the social learner for LearnDash theme comes. So let me be clear about this, because this is an important distinction. I think the guys at Buddy Boss have done an amazing job, but the social learner for LearnDash solution is not a theme or a plugin. It's a solution. It's a series of. So the social learner for LearnDash itself is a child theme of the Buddy Boss theme, and then it relies on a bunch of plugins to work. And essentially, the 2 core plugins that it requires is LearnDash, which is an amazing learning management system for WordPress. Justin Ferryman and the guys over at LearnDash do an amazing job. I met him at WordPress Chicago a couple of years ago. He's got a lot of experience in selling LMS to Fortune 500 companies, and then he brought that experience to WordPress. And it's just, LearnDash is just the LMS for WordPress as far as I'm concerned. And the other component is BuddyPress, which is the WordPress social network in a box. And typically speaking, BuddyPress over the years has kind of been a little bit clunky, and the interface, I mean, it's a great plugin, don't get me wrong, but the interface has been a little bit uninspiring over the years. And so the guys at Buddy Boss were the first guys really to build beautiful looking premium themes specifically for BuddyPress. And now they've seen this opportunity that, when you are learning online, you still need that social interaction. Like, Let me give you an example. My wife plays African drumming. She does African drumming like maybe 2 semesters a year. She'll go along and learn African drumming just as a bit of an outlet and a way to kind of let off some steam. And in the middle of winter, she gets home from work and it's like, it's cold, it's raining. Do I really want to get in the car and go to African drumming? So she'll text one of her friends, George, and she'll be like, you going to drumming tonight? And George lives on the other side of town, so it's a fair way for him to come for drumming. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go to drumming. I know it's cold and raining, but I'm going to go to drumming. So then she's like, all right, I'll go. So because she knows that she's going to have some social network there and she's going to have some friends there, she keeps going to drumming. So why do we put a course up online and then not pay attention to that social experience? And the guys at Buddy Boss have nailed this with Social Learner. So integrating Buddy Boss and LearnDash basically means you can see what your fellow classmates are up to. You can see what badges they're unlocking. If I go back to my dashboard here, you can see here, James Brown earned the badges positioning badge. And you can see that one of your friends has unlocked the badge. You can see that, we've uploaded a coaching call. By the way, this is the first page you see when you log in to our website. When you buy our course, this is the first page you see, not the courses page. This is not the first page you see. The first page you see is the wall here. And the first question we ask you is, what do you want to achieve today? We customize that because we want to invite people to be part of the conversation as soon as they log in. So BuddyPress, LearnDash, then there's a whole bunch of other little plugins that kind of do the heavy lifting, like the Buddy Boss wall, which we're looking at here, BB Press, which we use for our forums. We custom wrote our event calendar because we couldn't find one that did exactly what we wanted to do. There's what else plugin wise are we using? There's some Buddy Boss and LearnDash integrations that you need, but which are all part of the Buddy Boss solution. And then there's some custom stuff we did. So the leaderboard is cool. I'm pretty sure the leaderboard is a Badge OS. Badge OS is another core plugin that we use, which does all the points and the releasing of the badges. The Badge OS leaderboard is what you're looking at here. And so whoever's on top of the leaderboard at the end of the month wins a free coaching call with myself. And that's based on engagement in the forums, completing courses, and also we will manually appoint badges throughout the month based on how active you've been and if you've been helpful to other members or if you've added some awesome value in the Facebook group. And one thing that we custom built was the members map, which has been epic. So people log in and they want to see where all the members are on who's near me basically. And so you can zoom in on this map, and we have people all around the world organizing their own meetups. We had a meetup in Washington recently on the East Coast. We've had meetups in California. We've had meetups in the UK. We've had meetups here in Portland because people can see, hey, there are enough of us here. We can all kind of get together and hang out and help each other. So this has been a little bit of custom stuff that we did, which has been really good. And the other custom thing we did in the members directory. So I think this comes out of the box, the members directory. But what we did is we built this filter here, so you can add skills to your profile, and then I can filter this. So if I'm a developer and I'm looking for a designer, I can just tick designer and hit filter, and then I can see all of my fellow classmates who have put designer in their skill set, and then I can add them as a friend, reach out to them and say, hey, Ali, I've got some work on. I need a designer. Can we get online and have a quick chat? So there's a really nice internal economy going on within the program as well because we facilitate these conversations as much as we can.
So I hope you're ready to sell the members map as a plugin and your filter thing for this as well.
Yeah, we're not, but we could be.
Yeah. No, so, I was going to ask about custom coding. It sounds like the members map. It sounds like the filter on the thing here, your calendar, the little reminders for like localized coaching calls. What else was highly custom, if anything?
So the other thing I'll show you, the other thing that's really good is the course grid plugin from LearnDash, right? So this is a plugin from LearnDash that basically as you add courses to LearnDash, it just lays them out in a grid. And I've got to tell you, this is the money shot. This is what everyone, as a course publisher and as a student, everyone loves this because it's just so beautiful and it's so well laid out and it shows value straight away. We did a couple of things. We added how long the course is and how many lessons are in the course. And we've also added, if I completed that course, you could see it. We've also added a little green tick here, which actually shows that you've completed that course. So there's no need to revisit it. I'm done with that. If I complete this lesson here, then a little green tick will appear there. But we took this plugin and we said, hey, why can't we have this work with other post types? So we have all our webinars and our coaching calls in our archive. So we've got, over 41 webinars in our archive. So we actually took the course grid plugin and appropriated it for custom post types, webinars, and coaching calls. And this is basically just like a custom page template. So this is using advanced custom fields, which we love. ACF, thank you very much, Elliot Condon, who is also a Melbourne developer. This is ACF, where we've basically got the title of and a custom page template. We've got the title of the call, the description, and the key takeaways. It's just a basic text area. Then we've got our Vimeo URL there, and then we have some lesson resources. So this styling is from the Buddy Boss theme, but we've built this with ACF. So our VAs just say, hey, are there any resources for this call? Yep, we've got a link here that we host on Amazon, a download here, and then these are a bunch of links that were talked about during the call, and then we provide audio and video downloads. Now, I've got to tell this story about the video downloads. We had a member in 2015. He joined us in 2014. And when he joined us, I met him very early on in the piece at one of our meetups here in Melbourne. And he said, the dream is to build the business. He was working a full-time job for the government in IT. And he said, the dream is to build the business on the side to get it to the point where I can move the family up to the Sunshine Coast, which is in Queensland here, where the weather is warmer, and do that before the kids get too kind of involved in school. So it's not going to be too disruptive if we change schools. And I said, that's awesome, man. I really hope we can help in some way for you to do that. So he spent the entire 2014, 2015 year on a commute to and from work. It was an hour on the train every day, each way. So that's 2 hours on a train every day. And so what he would do is he would download the videos here onto his iPad because he didn't have 3G. So his iPad was offline. He would watch the webinars and the coaching calls on the train to and from work every day. He built a side business, turned over 50 grand a year in that side business, just building WordPress sites based on what he'd learned in our program. He sold his house in Melbourne in December 2015, and he's now moving the family up to the Sunshine Coast, and he's handed in his resignation at his job. So people go, really? Why do you need to supply audio and video downloads? Who's going to watch them? And I'm like, you're right. Not many people, but one guy did, and it paid off big time. So I'm happy with that.
That's awesome. What you do a good job of, and I think everybody can take a note from this is a webinar, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, they'll take their webinar recordings and they'll just put them in a list somewhere, but where you've got like a graphic per webinar, how you list the links below it, the downloads, you make it seem a lot more valuable and robust in the way you present it, with the presenter on the side over there with the bio and everything. And this is, most people, myself included, I'm guilty of this. I kind of just tuck those away. I put them in an archive or whatever, but I love how you've got them. If you go back to that webinars page for 1 second, you mentioned you kind of use the course grid or whatever, kind of modified it to do this. But a lot of people have this many webinars. They've been doing monthly webinars, but they do not present them in any attractive format. And so this is just awesome.
Yeah, and when and our dev guys are great. And my business partner Brian is just awesome. He's really good. He's great at user experience as well. So he showed me this one day. He said, when you mouse over this webinar, you can see that it's Kath. She's the presenter, and here it's Mike, and here it's Christina. So because one of the things that we're really conscious of in this business is, like the first 2 years, it was kind of the Troy Dean fan club, and I don't say that to be cocky or arrogant. I say that because it's actually risky for the business, and it's risky for our students if it's all dependent on me. So one of the ideas with bringing in guest presenters and guest teachers was to say, hey, well, now you've got courses here by Kath and Mike and Christina and Charles and Nathan and Jeanette Jifkins and Dave Hobson. And, so it's Mike and Troy. It's not just the Troy Dean show, that there's a whole kind of faculty of people here coming in and teaching and adding tons of value.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it looks great. Like a lot of our clients, they're not real technical. And so when I hear you talk about the custom coding, I feel bad for them because I know they're going to see it and want it. They could hire somebody to do it, but yeah, I know it's cool. You guys have I'm sure training, WordPress people, so much more about WordPress than most people. It's beautiful.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was up at WordCamp on the Sunshine Coast on the weekend, and I was chatting with my friend Dave, who's moved the family up there, and I was saying the next phase that we've just had so much interest in what we've done here at WP Elevation that the next thing that we're launching is we're teaching a course. It kind of sounds a bit meta, but we're teaching a course on how to make a course for maximum student engagement and completion. So we know that there's a bunch of courses on how to make courses, and there's a bunch of software tools that you can use that make it really easy for a course teacher to get their course up online. But our difference is that we actually care that your students complete the course. And of course, then we have a whole bunch of WordPress consultants who have been through our program and understand exactly what we're doing. And so what we're doing now is we're essentially training them up and skilling them up so that they can become Buddy Boss, LearnDash, Social Learner, Memberium, Infusionsoft experts, because I already have students in the course on how to make a course. That whole thing's called Rockstar Empires. I already have students there knocking on my door saying, can you please just do this for me? And I'm saying, unfortunately, I can't because it's not my core business, but I can connect you with some WordPress consultants who can. So we're going through that training process at the moment to make sure that they're all following best practices and, that they can do some of these custom coding and custom tweaks.
Yeah, very smart. We do something similar as far as like with Memberium. We can't help people with their sites. We can provide support, but we're trying to grow that community of others who can help them as well. So same thing.
Yeah, because I feel bad when they ask me, questions. I'm like, we just don't have the bandwidth to help. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I want to help, but I can't.
Yeah.
So a couple more questions. So what are your plans for the future with the site? I mean, you've got it this far. What do you plan on doing with the site?
So the site, it continues to evolve. The one thing that we're about to launch is a wiki, which is another bit of custom coding. Essentially, it will start off as the resources page, and the resources page will just list all of the resources and blueprints and templates and downloads that belong to each section of this course here. So this course is broken up into 6 chapters essentially, and all of the resources for each of these 7 chapters. All of the resources for these 7 chapters will be broken up and grouped together. And then that resource page will eventually become a wiki where our members will be able to edit it and add their own pages, because what they do is they take my proposal template, they try it out in the wild, they improve it, they get some great results, and they come back in the Facebook group or the forum and they go, hey guys, I just used this to sell some content marketing on a monthly retainer. This is the proposal I used. This is the languaging I used. This is why I think it worked. Here, you guys should use it. Well, that's great, but 6 months later, you go and try and find that in a forum or a Facebook group somewhere. So we want our users to be able to add that stuff to the wiki. So we're gonna custom build. We've already custom built the resource page, and we're going to eventually we're already custom building the ability to turn that into a real user generated wiki. And we have, as I said, 3 intakes a year with WP Elevation, and this site will continue to evolve as our students come in and tell us what is valuable for them. And while we monitor our churn rates and our lifetime value, we will still be, adding, evolving the blueprint. The blueprint, my hope is that in, 18 months, 2 years, that the blueprint will be unrecognizable to me, because it will be full of feedback and advice and templates and gold from our students who have actually taken this and used it in the wild. And that it's become something bigger than me, that the product is greater than the sum of the parts, if that makes sense. Live events are also something that's on our radar. In fact, I'm probably going to the US in July to a couple of WordCamps and to run some live events over there. So that's kind of what WP Elevation looks like in the sort of short to medium term. The other thing that we probably will bring in is so we don't teach anything technical at the moment, but we probably will bring in some tech stuff, because our customers, our members, are mainly consultants, and they want to be able to show their developers that they hire, hey, here's the best practices for building a child theme, and here's why you build a child theme. So we will probably partner with someone or several people to add those kind of technical courses to the platform, because we want the mission is that WP Elevation will be the education company for WordPress consultants. This is the only place you need to go to get everything you need to run a WordPress consulting business. So that's the long-term vision for WP Elevation.
Gotcha. Well, and I like what you said about, the site at some point being something that you don't recognize. That's like the whole life cycle of a membership site. If you can extract yourself from being the thought leader, it's beautiful. So
Yeah.
I have one more question for you. So, and this one, I don't know if it'll be difficult for you to answer or not, because you have such a breadth of knowledge. So I'll just go ahead and ask it. Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to start a membership site? And we'll say the short version, the 1 minute advice.
The 1 minute advice. Yeah, I do. Get really clear about your mission and your vision and who it is you serve, and manage your expectations, and understand that membership sites are not set and forget. They are not a path to passive income. If you have a membership site and you expect people to keep paying you a monthly membership, you need to over deliver on the value every month. So our mission here is to deliver enormous value to our customers and then optimize our business internally so that we can continue to do that and remain profitable. And that requires an enormous amount of work, processes, and a great team who are all aligned and all moving in the right direction. It is not easy, and it is not a set and forget path to passive income.
Man, you get a gold star for that. That was perfect 1 minute advice. For anyone who's started or is still going, I love it. So, and I know you've got a lot more there. So, Troy, thank you. You've been so generous with your time and shown us what you're doing and your information and knowledge. I know you've got WP Elevation. Obviously, if they're interested in doing anything with WordPress professionally, they should go there. But you mentioned something else to me. Can you tell them about that as well?
Yeah. So we're about to launch Rockstar Empires, which is a whole new brand. And it's where we are teaching anyone who trades time for money. So if you're a consultant of any sort or a creative service provider of any sort, and you're currently trading time for money, we're teaching you how to take the knowledge in your head and turn that into a course that is designed for maximum student engagement and completion, and then how to get that course up online and how to start selling that course so that you can supplement some of your income. And maybe, like what I've done over the last 3 years, is move away from client services to be a complete online business where I don't service any clients anymore. What we do is we generate our revenue through teaching and selling courses. So it's a course on how to make and how to sell a course. And that's at rockstarempires.com, and that's about to launch in mid-June 2016. So we're really looking forward to that.
Awesome. Cool. And I think anybody watching, they should know by now, after listening to a lot of the advice you give, and you give it so matter of fact, but there's a lot in there. I mean, there's a lot of nuances. I only drew attention to just a couple, but there's so much in here. And so I'm sure that course is going to be really, really amazing. And, I've talked to a lot of people. I've been through a lot of sites. Typically it's, someone who was an expert in something, and they built a site and they're doing well. And so they share their secrets, which is really, really good. But I don't know if I've met anybody with the knowledge of WordPress and like the technical and a really, really deep knowledge of how this stuff works. Because it's not a surface level, like, hey, if you do badges and certificates, you'll do better. It's all the nuances wrapped around that. So I'm really looking forward to the course, and I'd recommend anybody watching this to check that out, because this man is a genius.
Thanks, Micah.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Anything else you want to share with them?
One other cool little thing we do, right, is so Memberium is great at tagging our students in Infusionsoft so we know where they're up to. But then what we do is we use this great thing called Zapier, where we grab those tags from Infusionsoft and we push them into Intercom. I won't go into the details, but Zapier is just unbelievable if no one's used it in terms of, and I know you can kind of do some more funky stuff with Intercom, but we're kind of lean at the moment. So, we move pretty quickly. So the quickest way for us to do this was to take a tag. If you've completed a module, you're tagged in Infusionsoft, we then push that through to Intercom. And then we have these segments of people set up in Intercom. So you can see we've got 375 users match that segment. And then we can just send them a message like you saw before that says, hey, congratulations on completing module 2. We've unlocked your bonuses. So I would strongly suggest everyone look at Zapier and ask yourself how that can help automate your business as well.
Oh, genius. Awesome, man. Well, thank you again, Troy. And I'll put links to some of the resources you mentioned underneath the video. Everybody, if you'll check out WP Elevation. And then also, is it Rockstar Empire?
That Empires, rockstarempires.com.
Empires.com. Cool. And we'll include a link to that. Thanks again, Troy. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Micah. Thanks for having me.